no one who lives in fear is really alive. Ugh, I have chills, by reading these things. Like, this is so good. How many of you on your manifestation journey know exactly that you did everything correctly? You learned so much, and yet somehow it's just not manifesting. You see other people having successes, but somehow it just doesn't happen for you with, the big stuff. And I can assure you that you did all the steps correctly, and you know that you shifted, but then couldn't stay in that state of fulfillment long enough to see your manifestations appear. But there's always that anxiety and doubt and just coming back to this like old story, old self every time instead of staying there. So in this video, I would like to just give you a little bit of reassurance. We are going to get some of these like gold nuggets from A Course in Miracles, ACIM. So we're going to go through some of the notes of A Course in Miracles that I made some time ago. It will help us to get ourselves back to the truth, away from this belief of separation that actually causes the fear and anxiety. These kind of quotes will be your guide back to, your true self, your highest timeline, which you shifted to, but somehow just cannot stay there because of the emotions that you're experiencing. So in this video, I intend for you to find some solace, a place where you can come back to realign to your new story, new self, away from this belief of the ego and the illusions and separation, but really coming back to the true self who knows that what you want is truly for you, and you feel, you have this inner knowing, because the desires that we have, they are for us, and our fulfillment includes us, as the ACIM also tells us. So the simple premise of ACIM, A Course in Miracles, is that you are a miracle worker, that you are the servant of love, and everything happens for you exactly as it should. But sometimes we just believe the ego a little bit too much. The ego is your thoughts, your kind of conscious mind, the mind, the body that is just trying to survive, and it doesn't always work as, in truth of what we see, but it kind of works for its own advantage. So for example, when you found out about manifestation, you started shifting internally, you started to feel empowered, and then suddenly you started to feel doubt and anxiety, and you didn't know why. That was the ego trying to survive itself. It didn't really look at what you're doing as something that will benefit you, the true you, the divine consciousness within you, the expression of, the spirit in this world. But it looked at it as a dangerous situation that will get rid of the ego's grasp, its own control, because the ego controls you in many different ways. For example, its main tool is fear, and it comes from the idea that you are separate from everything else, while you are literally awareness experiencing itself in this human suit. So the fear is only there when we believe the ego too much. So I hope that these quotes will help you to, realign yourself and take the power away from the ego and back to, who you've always been. So if there is something in your experience that doesn't feel good, trust me, it's only because you are not aligned in this moment. Whatever doesn't feel good is because you kind of swayed a little bit too much from the true nature of you, the awareness, and from the things that really bring you joy. So if there is something that doesn't bring you joy, then why do we even entertain it, right? So A Course in Miracles says, denial is not concealment, but a correction. So a miracle, the premise of miracle is the correction of perception. You are realigning yourself to the truth of who you really are, So in the manifestation community, they will tell you to ignore the 3D. It's kind of like, no, I don't accept it. It is not happening, but it comes from the rejection and fear. But this quote, that denial is not concealment, but correction, it actually invites you to bring yourself back to the truth, that the illusions that you started to believe in, the fear that is causing in you an anxiety, is just an illusion. So by rejecting it, you're not giving it power, because you know that you're not trying to conceal what you're feeling. You can acknowledge what you're feeling, but you're correcting to come back to the true self, to knowing that this was just the ego idea and has nothing to do with you. So denying doesn't mean that I say I reject whatever this is, I ignore the 3D and so on. If I need to feel something, I will feel. But I'm not further perpetuating the idea that this is true. I know, I see right through this. I know that this is just an illusion, and I'm correcting the error that I made in the first place by giving them power. I'm not, denying their existence by not seeing these fears as real. I claim they are not real because I was the one that created them in the first place. But it doesn't have to mean anything. I'm correcting the error that I made in the first place. By giving them power, I am misusing my imagination, because they are just the phantom of the ego, and I don't have to believe in them. I don't have to misuse my imagination to really abuse my imagination. Instead of creating something beautiful, something lovely, I would be giving life to the things that are worrisome and fearsome. And by seeing them as real, I am giving in to the ego's grasp again, which I don't want to do. And it also says you believe in the fear because you created it. So God created you, and you created the ego. So of course, if we created the ego and ego created fear, we are going to, as long as possible, defend it, because we want to defend our own creation. But because we created it, it then generates the fear that we treat as something real, which it isn't. So we can just, come back to this realization that we only believe in the fear because we created it. It is our own creation. And another quote is nothing except your thoughts can attack you. Only we make ourselves feel a certain way. There's nobody making us feel a certain way. If somebody did something that triggered something within us, it's mostly because there was a button to press in the first place within us. So this is up to us to, get rid of the button and come back to, why is it affecting me, and so on. All of this that we're talking about in here is the goal of manifestation, for you to come back to the true self. I truly believe that manifestation and spirituality and everything that we want, every desire, is really there to reveal to us where we need to be a bit more vigilant about correcting our perception. And let's also remember that, the way we react to things, it also depends on the state we are in, because perception is preceded by the state you're in, right? We first are in the state, and then we see situations from that lens. So depending on whether you are feeling, good or a bit negative, you will interpret your emotions as excited or, anxious. But it may be the exact same sensation in your body, but maybe because you are in a different state, you're interpreting things a little bit differently. So also because the fear is this biggest force, but you are the servant of love, right? So there's this another quote that I really like. The fearful must miscreate. Every time we approach manifestation from the lack, from fear, we are just digging ourselves deeper in the despair and not really manifesting what we want, right? We know this. We have experience with this. I know I do. When you miscreate, you are in pain. Believing in fear is belief in the power of what does not exist. How much suffering we put ourselves through because we believe what we see here in the 3D, which is just the echo of the inside of ourselves. So also the premise of truth. What is really the truth, right? What is the right answer in any given situation? And people say that the answer is within you, but I would say it's not really within you, it is you. Because the truth is really context dependent, and you are the key to what will be true to you, which in my view, the truth is only whatever it is that I feel in my body, the sensations in my body. And I have to always just come back to feeling these sensations, because if I resist them, I just give them more energy. And thus I just perpetuate the persistence of this old identity, old story. And when you go through your life and just see things, even the things that are maybe against what you were trying to manifest, or someone else experiencing what you wanted, just slow down and look at that creation of yours. And there is this quote that I really like for this specific situation. Questioning illusions is the first step in undoing them. We need to first start question everything in order to start healing from this skewed perspective that we have, the conditioning that we have, the ego story. And healing is only temporary. Healing is really your ability to see what's in front of you without much reaction, looking at something as a past story that has nothing to do with you. Because when you know what you want, you can treat it as this northern star. Nothing can shake that. If you know who you are, if you perform these miracles, correcting the perception and realigning over and over, then nothing really can shake you, because you know that everything that happens in front of you is really for your benefit. It is the perfect unfolding, no matter what it is, even if it looks negative, right? Both miracles and fear come from thoughts. Choosing miracles means rejecting fear. This is so good. Like, I love this. No one who lives in fear is really alive. Ugh, I have chills, by reading these things. Like, this is so good. Like, I read these things and I immediately feel, realigned. Like, yeah, why was I even worrying about things? Like, it just doesn't matter, it really doesn't matter. It means nothing. So it also says that there are no idle thoughts. All thinking produces form at some level. So every single thought that we entertain, it will reinforce something, which will then, as a group of thoughts, create a belief that then creates, manifestation. And so there are no idle thoughts. And by saying don't entertain something, I mean don't completely ignore it. Allow it to be, feel it if you need to, and then move on from it. Because the energy of I'm not scared of feeling this thing is so powerful. You're not giving it your energy. You're just literally burning the energy that it occupies. So you're not perpetuating the story anymore. It's really so simple, but it's also counterintuitive, because it doesn't feel good to feel these things. So we will do anything in our power to skip feeling these things, because these are this anxiety level, sensations. But if we remember that they are of the ego, that you're always safe, that the real you, is unshaken, awareness is your true nature, and it's never changed or, affected by anything that you're feeling, anything that happens in your experience, right? So the answer to all of that is always love. And what is love? It's not, just a romantic love that we feel for people, or children or pets. Love is peace, is your own joy, following what really brings you, brings smile on your face, but also passion, something that you want to, pursue, but also devotion to feeling and compassion and forgiveness of what is in front of you. When we talk about ignore the 3D, the real word here is really forgiveness. Forgive this state and choose again, because you can always choose again. So peace is an attribute in you. You cannot find it outside. You cannot find peace or bring peace into your life, because peace is your true nature. And the only reason why you don't feel peace and you feel doubt and anxiety in your journey is really because something is blocking it, something concealed it. And the answer is most of the time the ego. That's why we perform these miracles, which are the correction of perception, knowing that the ego is just full of BS, knowing that it's just fighting for its own survival, because, it will put on this guise of it wants to protect you, it wants you to survive, but it's really just about its own survival. When you advance on your spiritual journey, at some point, you will be questioning the meaning of life. You will be questioning like your own personality. And maybe you will be even questioning like, what's the point of me being here? But all that is just the feeling of the ego. When the ego is dying, when it doesn't see the sense anymore, it will look like you don't want to be here anymore. But it's not the true you, it's just the ego. And we don't want the ego to like die. We only want to like put it in its place so that it's not fully in control. You are in control. The ego is just doing what it's always meant to be doing, giving you personality, giving you desires, and just enjoyment in this life to interact with other people. Because people seem to be separate from us, we can interact them, love them, spend time with them, hang out, have joy, and share experiences and so on. But knowing that we are all really the same essence, only because of the ego we can see each other as separate and experience this life as humans. When you accept your desires, the bridge of incidence, as Neville Goddard calls it, is already formed in this instant when you made that decision. But A Course in Miracles also says, the decision to receive is the decision to accept. When you accept your desire, you already received it, and your human senses cannot yet perceive it. So this is why we experience anxiety. But if you remember that by just accepting this thing as something for you, you already received it. You're just waiting for it to unfold and have a form in your experience. You can only find peace by total forgiveness. Only when you allow everything without making it mean anything about you and your worth, then you find peace. And it is probably the biggest challenge in this human life. The choice to judge rather than to know is the cause of the loss of peace. So judgment is when we look outside of ourselves and see, oh, I don't have money even though I'm manifesting money. This person doesn't love me even though I'm manifesting love of that person. We are judging the 3D, and only by judging it like this and not forgiving it as it is, we are losing the sense of peace. We are just coming back, asking ourselves, who am I being that this affects me? What thoughts am I giving power to that this now affects me? So A Course in Miracles also says, to concentrate on error is only to further error. And this is so good. Like it's literally, it works every time. So if there is something that happens in your reality, we immediately jump to conclusion, to this like kind of projection that if this is right now like this, then it means something about me as a person or my worth, my manifestation, and my future. We immediately jump to this like projection of what is onto our future. So in a way, we are judging what we see in this physical reality instead of like just forgiving and just moving on from that. We should treat this always as a way to redirect ourselves back to who we know ourselves to be. Treating the desires that we have, the wants, the wishes, as simply a northern star. I know how it's going to unfold already. Like, I don't know exactly, the steps that will get me there. I know my starting point and I know my destination, and the rest does not affect me. Regulate yourself emotionally in those times. And I hope that these quotes help you in that. Then you are going to sooner or later see the things that you want, because you are teaching your body, you're teaching your nervous system, your subconscious which is really the same thing. And it works both ways, in both directions, that you are teaching your subconscious, your nervous system, to accept what you want as neutral, as familiar, not as something dangerous, by bringing yourself back to the new baseline instead of always falling back to the ego's baseline. And your desires are the things that are for you because your fulfillment includes them. This is what we mean by realigning. You are realigning yourself to who you are, and how would a person that already has these things would react, would behave, would feel, because in order to manifest, you have to be the person who already has it. You cannot be, double-minded. You want it, but then you react to things. You kind of go there, but you're not sure. You have to become this unwavering person who knows that it is for you. You know that sooner or later it will happen, that you know it is for you, because otherwise you wouldn't want that. Otherwise, it wouldn't really haunt you all these years to try to give it a go. And you know it is for you also because even if you give up on that and you just move on, start doing something else, it will come back to you. It will circle back. What is for you will always find you. That's what people say, you don't have to really do anything to manifest. But also, if you abandon the idea because it maybe hurts so much to want it and not seeing it right now, it also could be a possibility. I've been there too. But it will come back to you because what is for you will find you again and again until you go all in on that. And by going all in, I mean you are not wavering when you see something negative or feel something negative. You see this as the perfect unfolding to what you know is for you. And this judgment that we do towards the things that are in front of us, this is really what makes us feel anxious. And what's also very interesting is that sometimes my situation doesn't change that much. Day to day, it looks exactly the same. But then it appears a day when I'm just like completely, anxious and on edge and so on. So why is that? My situation hasn't changed at all. So why am I suddenly feeling different, And that is suggesting to me that what I'm feeling is not really context dependent. It comes from me. Because how can I feel completely different when every day is the same? It must have happened not because of the external. And they also say that all attitudes are ego-based. So whenever we have attitude, whether it's a positive or negative one, it is of the ego. Ego is a good thing because it also allows us to feel the happy things, because it says all attitudes are ego-based. But we want to keep the ego at bay, to not be too much in control, so that we don't spiral as much. It also says, in the presence of knowledge, all judgment is automatically suspended, which is what we already talked about. If you know who you are, if you know that this business is for you, this love is for you, this house, in your heart, not even in your body only, just deeply know in your very being that it is for you, then coming back to this knowledge, this is what we mean by knowledge, right? I know that this is for me. When you come back to that knowledge, then all judgment of what is in front of you is automatically suspended. You are not going to care about this one situation or lack of money if you know what your future is, because we are judging ourselves and our lives instead of always coming back to that knowledge. Here's another really important gold nugget. You will never rest until you know your function and fulfill it. For in this can your will and your Father's be wholly joined. Only by accepting your function and really going for it, you are of the same mind as the collective mind that intended this thing for you. So just to wrap up this video with one more quote, fear is confusion of levels, raising the body thoughts to the level of the mind, because it will never be on the same level. The knowing is on the level of God, but your mind, your human mind, the ego mind, will always have its own ideas and will be always highly impacted by the fear of survival. But if you come back to awareness, to your true self, you know that you are always safe. Maybe you don't have to accept what's here, but you have to allow it because it doesn't mean anything about you. And you want to be of the higher mind. And the higher mind always will say, listen up, you are now perpetuating an error by believing in the error. And by taking away your energy from that, you are realigning yourself to the one who will experience what you want to experience. So yeah, I hope that my little notes help you here a little bit. So whatever it is that you're feeling about whatever is happening, allow yourself to feel, because when you don't, when you shut down a little bit, the nervous system is learning that this is disturbing, and then it sends the same information to the subconscious to further perpetuate the fear of what's in front of us. But it shouldn't have any power when we allow ourselves to feel, and we are setting ourselves free from that and performing a miracle to correct the perception that nothing outside of ourselves can truly harm us. And nothing that is true and nothing that is for us can be ruined in any way by anything that you feel or experience, because you are always safe and you are a miracle worker who is divinely protected and divinely guided. Here is another quote. No one loses. Nothing is taken from anyone. Everyone gains through your holy vision. Everything that you want to do and achieve is in the mutual benefit for everyone involved and everyone who doesn't seem to be involved either. Everyone benefits from your wish fulfilled, so keep going. It is your duty to allow the things you want because it will benefit us all. And the last one, only your mind can produce fear. It does so whenever it is conflicted in what it wants, producing inevitable strain because wanting and doing are discordant. This can be corrected only by accepting a unified goal. So whatever you want, it is for all of us. By fighting the ego illusions, we are giving it power and saying, yeah, you're true. I have to, weed you out because you are messing up my vision. But your vision cannot be broken by this unless you give it a power of investing energetically in it. So I hope that this video helps you to realign a little bit. These quotes help me a lot. I come back to them often because it helps me to correct my perception, and I hope that they correct yours too. If you like my vibe and you like the way I teach, I have a course that is called Nervous System Expansion for Manifesting, where you can learn to safely release your emotions that are still trapped in your body and unblock your manifestations. And you can watch this video next to see how the universe tests you before you manifest the things you want.